Hello, and welcome back to another half pint session. Cheers.
Cheers. I got my Chesterton mug.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Yes, viewers, we have joining us today Ethan Nicolle, whose work I'm sure you're familiar with, although you might not necessarily know that it was him. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Hello. That was cryptic. I want to know what you meant by that.
Well, well, would you mind explaining a little bit about who you are and what you've done?
I sneak into people's homes at night and I leave little trinkets under their bed. No. Okay. Well. Okay. Where did I start? I don't want to start do my whole life story here. I mean, I'm best known for I was the creative director of the Babylon Bee. I did a bunch of everything that for a while there, everything that wasn't the articles is what I was doing, all the videos and podcasts and books and cartoons and everything. I worked at DreamWorks on the newer Veggie Tales that everybody hates, but I wrote 150 episodes of those things almost together or worked on. I was crazy, and I wrote a book called Brave Ollie Possum, which is a kid's book, which is somewhat known in the, especially if you know familiar with Canon Plus. I'm very proud of that one. I like that book a lot. And I guess I'm best known, at least in around 2012 or 13, I was best known as the guy that created Axe Cop, which is a comic book, or it was a web comic at the time, that I created with my 5-year-old brother when I was 29. And that was turned into a TV show and a 6-volume Dark Horse comic series. The TV show is on Fox, crazily enough. And it's about a cop with an axe. So that's kind of the catch. Oh, no. And I just left out the last 3 years of my life where I worked at Daily Wire on their kids content department. I co-created the TV show Chipchilla because I've always had a lifelong obsession with the animal, the chinchilla, and didn't know why they weren't in mainstream entertainment more often. And
underrepresented.
Heavily. That's why I wanted to take representation to Daily Wire. So, they have a lot of work to do that department. Yeah, I made Chipchilla with my buddy Eric. And my friend Eric Branscombe, so me and him right now are doing a Kickstarter for a crazy new project we're working on. So if you have liked anything that I've mentioned on that list that I've done, I've also I've written for shows like Teen Titans Go, and I've done some other odd jobs. I could go on and on, but I give you the main stuff. Eric and I were Eric worked with me on a lot of the stuff with the Babylon Bee, all those video shorts. He wrote pretty much all of them. Me and him worked together on we basically took turns being the story editor on Veggie Tales and writing all those episodes and that crazy experience. And then we co-created Chipchilla and worked together at the Daily Wire. So I've done a lot of work with Eric. We were in each other's weddings. We're very close friends. We go way back.
Yeah. My comment about your experience with his work, although you might not know it, I was actually principally thinking of my buddy Joe. He and I, we communicate often. We live at different parts of the country, but we communicate almost exclusively in memes and Babylon Bee articles that just get circulated around the entire time.
Yes. I did also write articles. I did a lot of my way into the Bee was photoshopping and articles. I met Kyle Mann on Twitter one day, and I was such a closet fan of the Bee. I hadn't really outed myself as my politics at all at that point. I was still thinking I might make it in Hollywood or something. So I would kind of secretly do things for the Bee, but I sent him 30 headline ideas, and they used I think 10 of them, which I learned once I got the job there. That's an incredible batting average. It's pretty rare to get 10 out of 30.
And I think you guys also introduced a friend of the show, Dr. Diana Glyer, with regards to some of her work as well.
Who's that?
Dr. Diana Glyer. I think she was interviewed on.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Would you call her Dostana?
Dr. Diana Glyer.
Oh, Dr. Diana.
It's the English accent. It's
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it threw me off a little bit. Yeah.
This is why we lost the empire. Poor communication.
It's okay.
All right, so that's your background. What's this new initiative that you're running at the moment?
Okay, so I mean, based on a lot of those experiences, I've really fantasized about starting my own company out from the beginning, but for a long time, especially kids entertainment, a lot of things that I learned when I was at the Babylon Bee, starting up a team and getting kind of just cranking out all different kinds of content. But I kind of fantasized about what would it take to kind of start one without. I don't want to get a bunch of seed money and do it like I don't know. I what's like a very authentic way to just start something like that out, and combined with all kind of these other ideas swirling around in my head. Like for instance, if you're like me, and I assume that we have this in common, a lot of people I think within circles of people who are into like if you're into C.S. Lewis or I'm really into Chesterton. That's the other thing is I made a book of Chesterton essays. I'm really into G.K. Chesterton. I have also a podcast for people that want to get their hand held. Though I heard your wife has one. Is that true?
Yeah. So we're Pints with Jack. She's Pints with Chesterton.
Okay, so we're
All,
competing.
yeah,
Competitive?
she's on a bit of a hiatus because she's busy
Okay.
producing children at the moment. So
Uh,
we'll be gunning for you in a few more
it's pretty
years.
amazing though. You married a wife that like does a Chesterton podcast. That's good
Well,
job.
she didn't start it until after we had done Pints with Jack. But a lot of our romance has C.S. Lewis and G.K. Chesterton in the background. On our first date, she turned up late, but she then redeemed herself by reading my favorite Lewis book, The Great Divorce, in anticipation of our first date because I had mentioned it as we had been talking before. And then shortly before I was going to propose to her, I took her to England and I got access to all of G.K. Chesterton's things. So
Oh,
his little pince nez, his little glasses, and all of his pens and the all of the play equipment that he and his wife had for the kids of the neighborhood when they would come over, as well as all of his books with his little doodles down the side.
oh man, I
So
want to see that
so
stuff. Where's that at?
it was at the Oxford Oratory. It is now at a museum in London that has connections with Notre Dame.
Okay.
But and on that tour through London, she wanted to go to the Victoria and Albert Museum. So I took her the route through where Chesterton was born, where he was baptized, and I can't remember what the other one was. But I had this little tour, so we were walking past, and in England they have these big blue circles saying, born here in blah 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 blah,
Hmm.
identifying all of the famous things. And she saw it, and she went, "Did you know?" It's like that. That was when the wooing went up to
Hmm.
10 or 11 in preparation to ask her to marry me. So
Wow.
they've both had important roles to play. But anyway, back to your Kickstarter.
Okay. Well, yeah. Everybody always wants to hear about people's Kickstarters, but I do want you to get my. I hope that you have an audience, especially parents, because this is a kids entertainment company I'm trying to start.
I have a
Uh,
4-year-old, 2-year-old, and my third boy will be born in literally a month.
oh, perfect. All right, perfect. Uh, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm passionate about kids entertainment since Axe Cop. Really, I think I'd always kind of been more of a guy who wanted to do action movies and horror movies. Axe Cop kind of opened my eyes to the joy of making something that a parent and a kid can really enjoy together, and I think I was able to embrace that when I made Brave Valley Possum, which is really designed to be I don't know if you're familiar with Brave Valley Possum, but it's a really designed to be a bedtime story that you read out loud to your kids. It's really like made to be that. Kind of this idea where we make this book, but the book is sort of this packed with like all the best. If you imagine like what a kid would just love to find on each page of a book, and so you go from it's got picture books, it's got chapters of chapter books with lots of drawings. It's got comic books. It's got mazes. It's got how to draw pages. It's got solve the puzzle. It's got like a board game that opens up. It has cut this out into paper dolls or whatever. It just has like, for instance, one of the comics that's going to be in our book, and our book is called "This Book Might Explode," is
Best title ever, by the way.
thanks. Of course, it was a placeholder title in my that I came up with, and then Eric was like, "No, let's just do that." Okay. Uh, we have a character named Corn Doug. He's a human corn dog, uh, and he's a corn dog. So we have like a Mr. Potato Head style kit you can cut out, and you can make your own corn dog where you stick his arms and legs into a real corn dog. So like kind of just ridiculous stuff like that throughout the book. You don't know what you're going to find as you flip the pages. Um, so that's one aspect. Is there's sort of a continuing cast of characters and brand new characters always coming at you in the book. Lots of different styles and stuff because not just me and Eric are working on it. We're working on the bulk of the stuff in it right now because it's free. We're working for free, so it's a Kickstarter. We've been making enough money. Like the Kickstarter is about to fund at the minute, and that's the minimum we need to print these books out. We're not going to have any money. And we all, I don't know if you guys heard Daily Wire got They laid off all their kids departments. So that's the situation we're in at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But we've taken the opportunity to do something crazy. So we're trying to do this. But so like I said, guys like me and you, I think can relate to, a guy kind of nudges you with their elbow and is like, have you heard of this? There's this artist that does, like, I think he's actually really to Chesterton, but he does really cool comics. You know what I mean? You have to find them kind of one at a time. And like, so the staff I can't say staff because no one's paid, the pro bono amazing team that I've put together so far on this book. I mean, there's an array of C.S. Lewis and Chesterton lovers. The thing is, I'm not making. I don't want to like broadcast across the top of it. This is homeschool Christian content because that really puts it in a box. Like I want to make a kids entertainment company that could compete with any other kids entertainment company out there that could ultimately grow into anything: movies, books, theme parks, whatever. Like I would love for this thing to have the potential to go down that road and not to just box itself off in some corner like a lot of conservatives and Christians do when they create content, which I think is fine if that's what you want to do. Like I want to make stuff that all kids could get into. But I want, and the thing that I really want to provide to parents through this, not only like just really good original content, like because that's the other thing about the industry that I'm in and all these guys I'm working with. So many of these guys that are working on the book, they have amazing content, but their job, they get paid very well by companies like, whatever it is, Warner Brothers, Disney, Netflix, to work on, whatever it is, the latest installment of My Little Pony reboot or Barbie, babies or something. I don't know, whatever it is. And there's so many amazing artists and their talents are just kind of being wasted that way. And we complain too. We complain about all the reboots and super politically correct and all that stuff, but that's the machine that churns them out is these big studios. And we're kind of in a time right now where like there's different sorts of industries and media that are starting to get tagged legacy, like the media. And I think kids entertainment is ripe to be rethought because it's become a machine that's just kind of churning out stuff that people aren't real excited about. You haven't had a really exciting sort of like a revolution in kids entertainment in a while, and I think, and also just kind of an independent something where you're getting, through This Book Might Explode. I'm putting all these creators right up front, and they're going directly to parents, giving you directly their content. We're not putting a big giant company with a bunch of executives who are just kind of PC police or whatever they are. In between. And also there's not all these politics and money based on these huge franchise characters and stuff that make things really messy. I know that from working on VeggieTales. But sort of the purity of a artist making something they're very passionate about. They really think like this is, I talk every artist that we're bringing on, I sit there, I talk to them, I go, I want you to think like, this is exactly what I want my kid reading. Like, this is what I want to read to my kid. This is what I would want to find in a book when I was a kid. Something you're excited about. And I think that's a big deal because I've worked in kids entertainment and there are a lot of people not excited about what they're making. It's not what they would want to, when I worked on, like, full disclosure, when I worked on VeggieTales, the product that came out of that experience, which is a very political experience and very draining, I wasn't that proud of it when I was, I didn't try to get my kids to watch it, I think that happens, like it's sad, but and then there's a lot of people working in the kids industry that don't want to be in it. They wish they were working on the next like David Lynch art film or whatever, and they're mad. They want to insert their dark political messaging into whatever they can, and so they're trying to stick it into Strawberry Shortcake or something. So I think that all that said, one of the sort of values of what we're going to be doing is every creator that is part of the project, and not to say there's any litmus tests, but it's only that I'm going to put sort of a bio page with sort of a mini interview. You can look them up, get an idea for who they are. When we will have our values as far as content that we'll make in the book, I'm not going to be rejecting anybody based on specific political or whatever beliefs. It's going to be more like what kind of content they want to put into the book and what kind of the spirit it's made in. But I do want parents to really have an idea of who's making the content, and also because I want kids to think in that way. Think of following creators to their next project. I think a lot of people don't think that way. They don't read the names on the shows they watch. Anyway, I'm saying a lot. I would like you to be able to ask me questions. I'm sorry.
No, no,
And I want to puff my cigar.
this is all wonderful, and it definitely echoes some of my experiences of being a father. Like I say, my son is nearly 4, so
Mm.
his introduction to media has been slow and starting to
Yeah,
increase. But I have repeatedly found myself literally just showing him the stuff that I grew up watching.
right. That's the
Uh,
best. That's my favorite part of having a kid, right? You get to just each age they get, you're like, oh, okay, now time for this batch of stuff that I loved.
exactly. He's
So
not.
it's sad. It's the saddest is when you show it to them and you realize it wasn't that good.
I haven't had too many major disappointments yet. It's I've warned everyone in the family. If anybody tells him that Darth Vader is Luke's father,
Mm.
I'm just going to cut you out. It's like we're never seeing you again. But I have managed to he we went back to my mum's house, and he found my old He-Man books, and he
Hmm.
absolutely devoured them.
Hmm.
So he'd absolutely love that. The Wombles, Banana Man, Super Ted. Uh,
Oh, this
it,
sounds like
it
it's all British.
oh, it's all very British. See, I have to get him to have an accent somehow, and
The
this is how
Wumbles.
this
Yeah.
exactly. This is how I'm gonna do it. Um, so yeah, so a lot of material that he's consumed, I've generally preferred it when he's gone for my stuff, because he just seems to be less wild afterwards, and he has much more thoughtful questions about it. But
Right.
when I first saw what you were doing, it actually kind of put me in mind of some of the old, we call them annuals, where it was
Hmm.
basically where you had a bound book that had a collections of several different sets of comics, as well as all of the, they had like little magazine articles about things that
Right.
they were particularly like, you had boys annuals and girls annuals, and the content was particularly geared towards that. But it was like this smorgasbord of stuff, so that
Right.
whenever
Right.
you picked up this thing, you could just dive in. It's like, what am I in the mood for today? I want to read a comic
Hmm.
book, or I want to do some of the word games, or I don't think any of my things had build
Corn
your own,
dog.
build your own corn dog man. I don't think any of them had that, but I do love that idea.
It's very American.
Very, very. It's okay. It's like you can bring out a British version eventually. It's like some anthropomorphized teacup, I think, would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've had comparisons to like highlights, Mad Magazine. I don't think those are
Mm,
perfect comparisons, but I think that we want to get the sort of the best aspects of things like that. The variety of highlights, sort of the fun to turn the page of Bad Magazine. You never know what you're going to get, kind of thing.
yeah.
But the sort of format of it is it feels like a book in your hands. It's thicker, it's bigger. The paper's bright white, not shiny and glossy. It's like, because we want to encourage kids to draw and write and participate in the book. We're gonna have a real kind of involve your kids' creative aspect to the book. We're doing chunks where, like for instance, in the corn dog comic, there'll be random characters without anything in their word bubble, and it'll be little tiny words. Say like, "We forgot to write words here. Can you have him say what he's saying?" Or like, "Color this character." There's random characters that aren't colored, or like draw something here. So like, there's things like that in corn dog, and then we're doing a whole 3-part story where the third part's missing, and we need the kids to fill it out. It's this zombie PI story where the zombie PI is trying to solve a life because like someone's husband, the zombie lady's husband, came to life, which instead of dying, and the amazing Rich Werner, who is the artist, the original artist of the game Plants vs Zombies, is doing the artwork.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
so it's really fun, and then the kids can fill in the story, do some drawings, and they can send it in. And so we'll be featuring various, we have about 4 or 5 different continuing stories in the book, and we're gonna be always having kind of like prompts to share this. Like I have a miniature thing where I tell a story from my childhood, one where I get my head stuck in the door and pee my pants, and so I encourage kids to send their funny stories in to us. And anyway, so there'll be a lot of that interactivity, and also I think what I really want it to be, my vision is that parents subscribe to these books. They come right now. It's gonna be every other month. We would love to get to monthly. If we can, make them enough money to start paying people and churning it out. Um, but then they'd have a row of these things on their shelves, and it wouldn't just be great books, but it would be like sort of a monument to their kids' growing imagination each year. So I think in some ways we made the comparison. If you've heard of Crunch Labs, what it is
Mm-mm.
to engineering. This is Mark Rober. That's the guy that makes like those glitter bomb packages
Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube, and he makes these. Basically, monthly sends you a box with all these parts, and it kind of does a little fun engineering thing for your kids to do. It makes engineering fun. Well, this is sort of like a package that shows up, and I really do want to get to where we can do a full-on package, like not just the book. I want the book to come with like, stickers and maybe a toy every time, and just like, oh, who knows what else. I want that book to kind of explode in a good way, not a bad way. And so anyway, so I kind of imagine doing the same thing in terms of creativity, like driving their creativity. I want them to feel like all these creators in this book are kind of
working with them, playing with them.
Yeah. And I really would love to take that to someday to like a YouTube channel where we actually are doing kind of events and like, we're making up stories together and kind of like because I love the idea of pairing up. We have one of the artists we have on is Vance Kovacs, who's a Weta. If you know Weta, they're like the amazing special effects house that worked on all the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. And I mean, you name it, like amazing artists. He's a Weta artist. He worked on kind of another one, you name it. He worked on Chronicles of Narnia. I guess you'd like that. Maybe. Would you like that? I don't know. The artwork. He worked on the concept art. Planet of the Apes, whatever. You just name it. It's crazy. He's nuts, but I love the idea of pairing a little kid, telling kind of art directing him on a drawing or whatever.
Well, or on say some of those stories where the third act is left undone. It's like, great, it's competition. Whoever gets the best one, we're going to animate your solution, or we'll at least do some concept art to finish off the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was a kid, there were some kind of interactive elements of that where you'd write in and etc. But because it was the 1980s, everything was so much slower. But with the advent of the internet, you can make it way more interactive, and you're not having to wait months for all of the things to go through. Right. That's a really cool idea. I love the idea. Codes. Yes, yeah, I love that idea of actively trying to foster imaginativity and creativity. It's like at the moment over breakfast, I'm reading my kid poetry just to try and really bake it into him that words are something wonderful, and just you want to listen to them and think about the images that they create in your head. So the idea of having a little bit more support on that would be fantastic. Plus, he's just about to age into the bracket for this book because it's starting from 4. What is it, 4 to?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in there he would already like. I mean, my theory with kids that age, because I have 4 kids. My 2 older are from my wife's previous marriage, so I've had 3 kids that have been 4 in my life. But yeah, because I probably around 5 is like, which I actually kind of regret. All of them I read The Hobbit when they were 5. It's a bit young. They enjoy it. It's a fun experience, but then they forget it.
Yeah. But that just means that they get to experience it all over again.
Yeah, I have to read it all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, I just introduced Narnia, the first book, to Alexander.
Oh yeah.
And he got well, it's like I can't wait any longer. He did really enjoy it, but I'm also looking forward to doing it again at the end of the year when winter comes and it starts snowing. It's like, all right, we're going to read that story again about that magical snow.
That's one reason I made Brave Valley Possum the way I did, as not just because that was another thing I noticed really works so well with kids, is having a lot of visuals. But like kids can handle a long story, but it has to have these elements to it. It has to have like, for instance, in Brave Valley Possum, I made sure to have a character with a funny voice to do. Just when we get to the funny voice character, it kind of carries it for a while. Having lots of pictures to kind of lily pad off of, so the kids tracking better. This kind of stuff like that. So, everything's very visual in this book. So I think that even for the stories you may not be following, there's going to be so much fun stuff on every page. Like one of our stories is called Legion of Fluff. It's about a kid who kind of sees himself as a monster hunter, and he finds this like ancient bone hammer from some goblin king lord, and his stepsister's really into tea parties with her stuffed animals, which he thinks is super dumb. They find out that this bone hammer grants wishes, and they sort of are fighting over the hammer as they make their final wish. And he thinks that his sister has gotten the wish. She brought her stuffed animals to life. They're all like life size, like sports mascots that are alive now, basically. And but then it turns out that they have like this transforming power where they can like battle monsters. They have like monster battling armor and weapons and all the stuff that he had written in a journal. So anyway, basically have this army of plush toys that fight goblins, and then there's this goblin war that's going to happen in their like suburban gated community. And but the kid is super creative. So like all throughout the book, like uh, during the story, it shows like things he's drawn up, a big map of his apartment complex and like all the weird stuff he's found there, and signs of maybe monsters or whatever. So there's just scribbling all over it and drawings, and it's very silly, but it's just very detailed, a lot of fun, stupid things to look at. And I think a lot of that just like fun to look at. I mean, we even have basically a full on picture book. It's about a dog. Eric wrote it. I drew it. And the dog is just trying to figure out who wants to be his best friend, and he keeps going to different animals that are not a dog, and then the animals are like, clearly not suited to hang out with dogs. Like he's like stuck on a wall with a mouse, and he's in a nest with the birds, whatever, and falling out of trees. And then at the end, it's just this little girl. It's very sweet. It's very fun artwork. And so yeah, we have stuff that's directly for that age. But I think that a lot of the stuff is going to be there's going to be a lot of pages that invite you to draw on them and stuff. And I think that 4 is a good age.
And I hadn't heard the term lily padding before, but that has absolutely been my experience. We have gone through most of the Roald Dahl books at this point.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah,
I
love the Roald Dahl,
and he really can track just as long as we have a picture at least every 2 pages, and he's still hanging on, and he'll always then bombard me with questions at the end. It's like,
right. Those help. But to me, that's more because I actually think as you get older, you realize that it's better without pictures because the pictures in your head are always better. But for a kid, they're learning how to put those pictures together still. So I think that helps. I had something else. Oh yeah, Roald Dahl. I think that the other thing about sort of the philosophy that C.S. Lewis has and Roald Dahl has is they don't write in a voice to kids. No. They write stuff they like. That's how I work. I mean, I think you probably know the quote. C.S. Lewis has a quote about kids' books, whatever.
Oh, if they're not worth reading as an adult, they weren't worth reading as children.
Right,
right. And fairy tales. When I was young, I was too ashamed. Now I'm old. I read them openly.
Right. Yes, we probably have a whole bunch quotes. But anyway, yeah. There's sort of the voice that you can notice kids' content can take on. It's like condescending, coming down to their level. Yeah. Oh, don't you get the note all the time when you work in kids entertainment? I don't think kids know what this word means. Blah 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 blah. I mean, Roald Dahl and C.S. would have been noted to death by these people, and
it was actually when it was alerted that the literary estate were going to start editing his books. I literally went out to the secondhand bookstore and just bought them all.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing. Kids are hungry to learn. They don't understand things all the time. They're fascinated by whatever is in front of them. And I think that's, I think that the passion of a creator is, when you're making something you're really excited about, that's for kids. I think that, if it's good, that can translate. I think that there's it doesn't have to be perfectly in kid language and made just for kids, and so that it sounds really dumb to adults. Like I think that there's something there where you can. I think Roald Dahl has proven that by making some of the greatest kids content ever. Same with C.S. Lewis, and The Hobbit, and things like that. So I think that our goal. That's our goal too. I mean, I think like the picture book is going to have kind of a simpler language, but in general. I'm really trying to avoid that. We're not doing like little lessons on letters, and it's just fun. It's fun content that we would be excited to read. That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, and that is definitely the litmus test as a parent as to which books I'm going to read to my kids regularly. It's just like, do I enjoy it? Mm-hmm. And for some of them, I would prefer to like rip out my eyes than have to read that book again. But other ones are just truly delightful that I will very happily read again and again and again.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know if you read part of what inspired this is I had a anthology book that I got, and I realized how much my kid enjoyed reading it. The thing I didn't enjoy about it is I didn't know what I was going to get in it. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of things that were like, ooh, okay, let's skip this one. And that's something a problem you won't have with ours, hopefully, unless you're super like, if you don't like diaper jokes. We have a lot of diaper jokes in one of the stories in this one, but we'll find out. What parents get offended by, but
in this house, poop is always funny.
Yeah, I mean, God created poop, farts, right? So the excitement, the fun of reading all these different stories. The thing about it that was the number one, not knowing what content I was going to get. but I think that kids really respond to that variety,
Mhm.
and then like kind of the combining. And then the other thing I felt was like, I wish there was more interactivity here, more besides just read these stories. I wanted it to be, so that's kind of
more active.
Yeah, more to do, more inviting, kind of bringing the axe cop element into it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, if people want to support this, where should they go?
There's a website called thisbookmightexplode.com. And if you go thisbookmightexplode.com/Kickstarter, that'll take you straight to the Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter. I'm sure you can search it up. And yeah, that's it. You can look up, we're on X at Explodeybook. This book might explode was too long of a handle.
Yeah, I get that. Wonderful. Well, all the links to that stuff is going to be in the show notes. I'd love to have you back next season to talk about your Chesterton book.
Yeah, please. And if I may quickly plug Chesterton's Gateway, the podcast. We're going through my Chesterton book on the podcast, but we go essay by essay through Chesterton.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Is that exactly what your wife does, or is that...
No. They haven't. They've by and large stayed away from the essays. They've done his larger works like Man Alive and Orthodoxy.
Okay. Cool.
And they got halfway through The Everlasting Man, and then we got pregnant, and my wife has horrendous morning sickness. So that will come back eventually.
Man's a big one. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, cool. Ethan, thanks for coming on the show. And
thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Viewers, please join us again next time. We'll continue going further up and further in.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.